He's not even her real dad. I just needed someone with better health insurance. That's what my wife, Madison, whispered while laughing to her friend at our daughter's first birthday party. The words hit harder than any punch I've ever taken. I was standing 2 steps away, hidden behind the kitchen wall, holding a pink cupcake and wondering why the woman I loved hadn't smiled at me all day. And then I heard it. She's actually Brian's. My ex. I used his frozen stuff. Travis. He's just the guy who shows up, pays the bills, changes diapers. But he's not her dad. He's just safe. Safe. I dropped the cupcake. The icing hit the floor in slow motion, but my heart was pounding like a war drum. I'd given up everything for this family. I thought I was raising my little girl. My little girl. Now I was just a backup plan with a wallet and a warm bed. I didn't even go back to say goodbye. I walked out the back door while the party music kept playing, while Madison kept lying. But that was just the first bomb. The second? A week later, I sent her a surprise of my own. A copy of the birth certificate. My name wasn't on it anymore. And then, the text started. Please answer. I didn't mean it. You're still her dad. She had no idea I was just getting started. Because if she thought she could build a fake life on lies and use me as the foundation, she forgot what happens when a man who's been quiet too long finally decides to burn it all down. The first message came 3 hours after I sent her the updated birth certificate. Travis, what is this? I don't get it. Then, where did this come from? Did you do something? And finally, please answer me. 50 texts in 2 days. A few missed calls. A voicemail that started calm and ended in screaming. I didn't reply to any of it. Why would I? I had nothing to say to the woman who used my life like a rental agreement. Temporary, convenient, and disposable. But I needed to know how deep this went. So I called my friend Caleb. He's an IT guy who's helped me before when I thought Madison was maybe just being secretive, not a full-blown snake. Remember when I told you something felt off a few months ago? I asked him. Yeah, you said she was acting weird after the birth, Caleb said. You thought it was just postpartum or stress. Turns out it was betrayal marinated in lies. Caleb came over that night, and we started digging. Phone backups, email recoveries, anything we could legally pull from the iPad she used for grocery lists and Netflix. And then we found it, an old email chain. She'd been contacting a fertility clinic 6 months before our daughter was born. But not for IVF with me. She was requesting access to Brian Mitchell's stored samples. Her ex-husband, who died 2 years ago in a car accident. I just need a piece of him, one of her emails said. My current husband is sweet, but he's not. Brian. Reading that made me physically ill. So she went behind my back, got inseminated with a dead man's DNA, and made me raise the child like it was mine. Smile for pictures. Take night shifts. Rock her to sleep while she scrolled Instagram. And still had the audacity to call me a loser at our baby's birthday party? This wasn't just cheating. This was identity theft. She stole my future, wore my loyalty like a mask, and performed a play for the world where I was the fool in the front row, clapping like an idiot. So I kept digging. Madison had a second phone, one she never mentioned, a burner, tucked inside a makeup bag in our closet. And when I finally turned it on, it lit up with messages from a number saved as L. But L wasn't just some friend. It was Liam, her coworker. And these messages weren't just friendly. Screenshots, shirtless selfies, messages like, can't stop thinking about last night. You're a goddess. He doesn't deserve you. You're fire, babe. And her reply? I know. He's just safe. I need danger again. So let me get this straight. Not only did she lie about the baby's father, not only did she humiliate me in front of her friends, she also had a live affair going with some clown from her office. I sat there, staring at that phone, wondering how I ever believed this woman was my partner. All the nights I defended her when people called her cold. All the times I told myself she's just tired when she snapped at me. Every lie I swallowed, every red flag I painted white, it all came back like a flood, drowning whatever part of me still wanted to forgive her. This wasn't about a one-time mistake. This was a woman who built an entire fantasy, a web of lies, while I paid for her life and kissed her goodnight. And now? Now I knew what I had to do. Because if she thought removing my name from that certificate was a power move, she was about to see what real consequences felt like. I waited until Saturday. Madison always slept in on weekends, especially after her Friday girls' nights. I sat in the kitchen, coffee in hand, documents on the table. Not legal threats. Not lawyer letters. Just the truth. The burner phone. Printed emails from the fertility clinic. Screenshots of texts with Liam. And the birth certificate. Her latest masterpiece of betrayal. She walked in wearing my hoodie. The same hoodie I gave her when we first started dating. The irony nearly made me laugh. "Hey," she said, yawning. "Why are you up so early?" I didn't answer. Just looked at her and slid the burner phone across the table. Her face didn't twitch. Didn't blink. Instead, she picked it up, tapped the screen, then set it back down gently. And then, she smiled. "You went through my stuff?" she said, like I'd just eaten the last slice of cake. "I went through the lies," I replied. "And there's a lot." She shrugged. "So what now? You gonna cry?" That one line. It confirmed everything. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't panic. This was a woman who believed she was untouchable. That I'd beg. That I'd fall to my knees, ask her why, tell her we can fix it. But I wasn't here to fix anything. "You lied to me about everything," I said. "The baby, Brian, Liam. What part of our life was actually real?" She rolled her eyes and took a sip of my coffee. My coffee, like I was boring her. "Oh my God, Travis. It wasn't some big conspiracy. I was grieving. Brian was the love of my life. You were just there. You were helpful, kind, predictable. You used me. No, I chose you. There's a difference," she said. Leaning against the counter like this was some rom-com argument with quirky music in the background. I stood up and walked to the hallway. She followed. "What? You're leaving again? You gonna run like last time?" I opened the closet and pulled out a suitcase. "I'm not leaving," I said. "You are." That wiped the smile off her face. "You're kicking me out of my own house." "Our house." "But yeah, I spoke to a lawyer. Legally, I can't force you out today. But this isn't your kingdom anymore, Madison. You want the baby? Fine. Fight me for custody. But you're gonna have to explain to a judge why you falsified the father's identity on her certificate and committed emotional fraud." She crossed her arms. "You wouldn't." I stepped closer. "I already did." Her mouth opened, then closed. That cocky mask. Gone. Replaced by something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. "You're not her dad," she whispered, like that was supposed to hurt me. "You were never meant to be." And yet, I was the one up at 3 a.m. holding her when she cried. Not Brian. Not Liam. Me. And now? You just made her life way more complicated than it ever needed to be. She turned to walk away, but stopped at the hallway mirror. "You'll regret this," she said, fixing her hair. "No," I replied. "You will." She packed a bag, slammed the door, sped off in the car I bought her last Christmas. I sat on the living room floor for an hour, staring at the spot where she'd been standing, wondering how I ever fell in love with someone like that. And then the guilt hit me, not for what I'd done, but for what I'd let happen for so long. That evening, the silence was louder than any argument we'd ever had. The house looked the same. The framed pictures still hung on the hallway walls. The baby monitor still blinked softly on the nightstand. Her shoes still lined up by the door, like she might walk back in at any moment and pretend none of it happened. But she wasn't coming back. And for the first time, I was glad. I sat in the nursery for a while, watching the slow rise and fall of my daughter's chest as she slept. She was peaceful, innocent, unaware of the chaos brewing in the world she'd been born into. A world where her mother had used her like a pawn and treated me like a disposable placeholder. I whispered, "I love you," before closing the door. But in my mind, it was a louder promise. "I'll protect you, even if it means protecting you from your own mother." The next day, Madison sent a new wave of messages. But this time, she dropped the act. "You think you're gonna win? You're nothing, Travis. Nothing. Enjoy playing daddy while you can. Because you're not legally anything now. You're weak. You always were." I stared at the screen, unfazed. Because now I saw her clearly. Not as the woman I married, but as the manipulator she'd always been. I wasn't her husband. I was her cover story. Her ticket to normalcy while she carried another man's legacy and texted her latest conquest. And Liam? That spineless clown didn't even last a week after the blow-up. Caleb helped me track down a deleted message thread. Madison had tried to guilt him into staying. Told him I was abusive, claimed I emotionally manipulated her, and tried to control everything. She even sent him a screenshot of me sitting at the kitchen table, the same day I confronted her, captioned, "He's losing it. I think he's gonna snap." Classic narcissist tactic, flip the blame, play the victim. But Liam wasn't as dumb as I thought. His reply? You lied about everything. Don't ever contact me again. Then blocked. Turns out even the guy who sexted her from his cubicle couldn't stomach the real her. Good. I met with my lawyer 2 days later. I laid out everything. The emails, the false birth certificate filing, the recordings from that birthday party. He looked up from the folder and said, "You've got a case. Not just for emotional fraud. Possibly for identity fraud, too. If we play this right, you'll not only walk away clean, you might just walk away with full custody." I didn't expect that. I mean, I wasn't even biologically related to her. But apparently, biology isn't everything in court. Consistency, presence, and evidence matter more. And I had all three. Still, something deep inside me felt hollow. Because I wasn't fighting just to win. I was fighting because I had to. Because a woman who was supposed to love me chose lies over loyalty. Because a child who called me dead every morning deserved better than being used as a trophy in her mother's sick little drama. I sent Madison one final message. Just one line. "I'm done being your backup plan. Next time you lie, make sure it's not to someone with receipts." Then blocked her everywhere. No more arguments. No more fake apologies. No more trying to fix what was never real in the first place. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a resurrection. A week passed. Peaceful. Quiet. Unnatural. It was like standing in the eye of a hurricane, waiting for the next wave to hit. Because with Madison, there was always a next wave. I started preparing for war. The lawyer filed motions for temporary custody and a formal investigation into the falsified birth certificate. We collected everything. Her messages, the emails to the clinic, the recorded audio from the birthday party. Every piece of her deception neatly packed in a manila folder with her name written on it. Madison Claire Whitmore, plaintiff. Funny how fast a fairy tale turns into a courtroom drama. But then she made her biggest mistake. She showed up, uninvited. It was 8 p.m., and I was giving my daughter her bath. The doorbell rang like a punch to the chest. I knew it was her. Only Madison would dare show up after everything. I put my daughter in her crib and opened the door. She stood there, wine in one hand, mascara smeared slightly like she wanted to look broken, but still hot, still dangerous, still Madison. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice softer than I'd heard in weeks. No. She tried to walk past me, but I blocked her. "I'm not letting you inside." She scoffed. "You think you can just erase me? I'm her mother. You're not here for her. You're here because Liam dumped you and the courts are coming." Her eyes sharpened. "You're pathetic. Hiding behind lawyers. Acting like a victim. You think you're strong now." I didn't flinch. "No. I think I'm finally awake." She leaned in closer, lips inches from mine. "You miss me." "No," I said. "I missed who I thought you were." She stepped back, her face crumbling for a split second before the rage returned. "You're going to regret doing this to me." I shook my head slowly. "No, Madison. You're going to regret doing it to yourself." Then I shut the door. And behind it, for the first time, I felt something strange. Relief. Because I finally understood. I'd spent years trying to love a woman who wore masks better than makeup. She wasn't broken. She wasn't confused. She was calculated. Every time she cried, it was to buy time. Every time she apologized, it was to reset the game. And every time she said, "I love you," she meant, "I love what you do for me." That night, I went through more of her burner phone. Deeper texts. Deleted videos. There was one from 3 weeks before our daughter's birth. She was in a hotel bathroom, wearing nothing but a towel, giggling at the camera. "Can't believe this is happening. Liam's in the shower. He doesn't know I still live with Travis. Oops." She winked. My blood turned to ice. Not because she cheated. I'd already swallowed that poison. But because she filmed herself doing it, bragging, like it was a badge of honor. She never loved me. She loved the image of being adored while she trashed everything behind the scenes. And now? Now she was going to watch that image burn. I uploaded the video to my legal cloud folder. My lawyer would know how to use it, and when. Because Madison hadn't just fallen into a trap. She built it. Brick by brick. Lie by lie. Smile by smile. And now? She was standing on the trapdoor with a match in her hand. The court hearing came faster than expected. I walked into that courtroom wearing a cheap suit, a head full of anxiety, and a heart still nursing bruises. But I walked in tall. Madison walked in like she was headed to a red carpet event. Tight black dress. Hair curled. Makeup perfect. The kind of outfit that says, "I'm here to charm, not to confess." She glanced at me with a smug little smirk, Like I was a minor inconvenience she'd swat away in a few minutes. Her lawyer was some cocky dude in his 30s who looked like he practiced closing arguments in the mirror while flexing. Mine was quiet, older, sharp-eyed, the kind of guy who knew the law like it owed him money. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, didn't waste time. We started with the birth certificate. Madison claimed there was a miscommunication, that she wasn't sure about the paternity at the time but didn't want to hurt me. She even shed a tear. A single, well-timed tear. Fake. All of it. Then came the email chain, the clinic receipts, the requests for Brian's samples, her messages saying she didn't want a child with my bad genes. Her lawyer tried to object. The judge overruled. Next came the texts with Liam, the hotel video. And suddenly, Madison wasn't so smug anymore. Her face flushed. She shifted in her seat. Even her lawyer was starting to sweat. But then, she did what she does best. She lied. She said the messages were fake, that I had hacked her phone, manipulated the evidence, forced her into things. She said I was emotionally abusive, that I gaslit her daily, that she feared for her safety. The court went silent. Even I blinked in disbelief. This woman was burning the entire truth down just to stay clean. I wanted to scream, but I stayed quiet, because my lawyer stood up and said the 6 words that changed everything. We have a sworn statement from Liam. The judge raised her eyebrows. My lawyer continued. He confirms the affair. Confirms that Madison lied about her marital status. Confirms she told him I was barely around, even though we lived together full-time. He also confirms that she bragged about using Brian's sperm and said, and I quote, "Travis will never know. He's just dumb enough to raise her anyway." The courtroom felt like a pressure cooker. Madison's mouth opened slightly. No sound came out. The judge tapped her pen against the desk. "Miss Whitmore, based on the evidence and testimony, I am seriously questioning your credibility as a parental figure." That was the moment, that exact second, when the spotlight turned on her lies, and there was nowhere to run. I saw it. The fear. Not the kind you fake to win an argument. The real kind. The kind that says I lost. I actually lost. The judge ordered a temporary custody agreement in my favor. Madison would get supervised visitation until further notice. She tried to object, tried to argue. The judge shut her down, and I walked out of that courtroom not just as a man, but as a father with truth on his side. Outside, she chased after me. "You ruined me," she hissed. "No," I said, turning to face her. "You did that all by yourself. I just stopped cleaning up after you." She stood there, blinking, her armor cracking for the first time. And me? I walked away, finally free from the woman who thought love was a game and lies were currency. But I knew this wasn't over. Because women like Madison don't just disappear. They regroup, they reload, and they come back swinging. I should have known peace wouldn't last. A week after the court hearing, I was finally starting to breathe again. The baby was adjusting to the new schedule. Mornings with me, afternoons at daycare, no Madison in sight. The house no longer felt like a haunted museum of lies. I was finally putting my life back together. Then she showed up. Not at the door, not with a lawyer, but online. It started with a post. A picture of our daughter, my daughter, on Madison's Instagram. Caption: "Mama's little angel. Can't believe I almost lost her to a controlling, emotionally unstable ex. Thank God for second chances." My blood boiled. She hadn't even seen her in days. But here she was, parading as Mother of the Year, playing the victim card to her thousands of followers. She even added hashtags like #SingleMamaStrong and #FightingForMyBaby. And people bought it. Comments poured in. "You're so brave. Keep fighting, girl. Men are so manipulative these days." I wanted to respond. I wanted to post screenshots, court orders, the video, everything. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to fight her on her turf. I already beat her in court. I wasn't about to step into her Instagram soap opera. Then came the real hit. I got a call from CPS. Someone filed a complaint. Allegations: neglect, unfit home environment, emotional instability. Guess who made the anonymous report? It didn't take a detective to figure it out. I invited the caseworker in, showed them the nursery, the fridge full of food, the spotless house, the updated custody documents, the pediatrician's number. The caseworker smiled. "I'm sorry. This clearly looks like a false report." But I wasn't smiling. Because now I knew Madison had one goal left. If she couldn't control me, she'd destroy me. I called Caleb. "She's going nuclear," I told him. and I need insurance. We dug deeper. Madison had created a burner TikTok, posted vague emotional videos with trending audio clips, crying, holding our daughter in old footage, writing captions like, "He tricked me, took her away. I just wanted to be a mom again." She even tagged fake support accounts, started building a narrative, the misunderstood mother, the evil ex. It was genius, twisted, manipulative, but genius. She was prepping her army, not for custody, not for love, for public sympathy. Because if you lose in court, win in the comments. I met with my lawyer again. "What can we do?" I asked. He looked over her social media activity, shook his head. "She's dancing on the edge of defamation. If she slips up and names you directly, we strike. Until then, document everything. And be patient." I hated it. I hated how she could spin lies while I stayed silent. But I kept playing smart. Until she crossed the line. She showed up to daycare, unannounced. She tried to pick up our daughter. The daycare director called me immediately. "Mr. Whitmore, she doesn't have authorization. She's not even on the emergency contact list anymore." I got there in 15 minutes. Madison was standing in the parking lot, arms folded, pretending to be calm. "I'm her mother," she snapped when I arrived. "You can't keep her from me." "I'm following court orders," I said, unlocking my car. "You're the one violating them." She moved closer. "You think you've won. But this isn't over, Travis." "You're right," I replied, strapping our daughter into the car seat. "It's not over. It's documented. And next time you try this, it's jail time." She laughed, sharp, bitter. "I gave birth to her. And I gave everything to raise her," I said, locking eyes with her. "While you were chasing ghosts and sleeping with coworkers." She didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there, letting her perfect little image crack in the sunlight. Then she walked away. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity. Because Madison wasn't fighting for our daughter. She was fighting for attention, for power, for an audience that clapped when she cried and scrolled when she didn't. She wasn't a mother in pain. She was a villain in costume, trying to stay in character while the script fell apart. And me? I was done playing her role. I was writing my own now. 3 months after that day in the parking lot, I stood in front of the same courthouse where it all began. Only this time, it wasn't fear in my chest. It was fire. I wasn't here just to defend myself anymore. I was here to end it. The final custody hearing. The judge had seen everything. The falsified documents, the texts, the burner phone, Liam's sworn statement, and now? She had a full record of Madison's online manipulation, her daycare stunt, and the anonymous CPS report traced directly to her IP address. Madison sat across the aisle, jaw tight, makeup flawless, dressed like she still believed she could win people over with mascara and a tight skirt. But this courtroom wasn't Instagram. This was reality. And reality doesn't care about hashtags. My lawyer stood and opened with quiet confidence. "Your Honor, the evidence clearly shows a pattern of deception, manipulation, and emotional recklessness from Ms. Whitmore. We are asking for full custody, with supervised visitation rights limited to neutral grounds, pending psychological evaluation." Madison's lawyer tried to flip the narrative, said I was controlling, that I isolated her, that I made her feel worthless. It was her last trick. Play the victim one more time. But she didn't count on what came next. My lawyer pulled out the final piece. A printed transcript from a support group Forum Madison had secretly joined under a fake name. She'd posted a thread titled, "I tricked my husband into thinking our baby was his. He found out. Now he's taking her away. How do I make him regret it?" She signed it anonymous, but the email was tied to her TikTok burner. The courtroom was dead silent as the judge read it. Madison's face went pale. She leaned into her lawyer, whispering frantically, but it was too late. The judge looked up and spoke with the weight of 1,000 verdicts. "Ms. Whitmore, you have lied to this court, to your child's father, and most disturbingly, to your own daughter. You've manipulated systems designed to protect children and attempted to use social media as a weapon in a legal process. That ends now." She banged the gavel. Full custody granted to the father. Madison was awarded supervised visitation, 3 hours per week, in a public, court-approved center. All contact with me cut. Any future violations? Revocation of visitation entirely. It was done. It was finally over. Outside, the sky was cloudy, a light drizzle falling as if the world itself was exhaling. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, but the kind that comes from surviving something you never should have had to fight in the first place. But I was free, not just from her, from the lies, the gaslighting, the quiet erosion of my self-worth. I took my daughter to the park that afternoon. Just us. She pointed at ducks and laughed every time one flapped its wings. And in that laugh, I heard something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Later that night, I got a message request. It was from Madison. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Because I knew what it would say, some warped mix of blame and nostalgia. Maybe she'd say she missed me. Maybe she'd beg for another chance. Or maybe she'd say nothing at all, just a picture of her crying in her bed while sad music played in the background. None of it mattered. I deleted it. Blocked her again. Not out of hate, out of healing. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life. A few weeks later, I changed my daughter's middle name. Gave her one that meant strength. A quiet tribute to what we both had to survive. And when she's old enough to ask about her mother, I'll tell her the truth. Not to poison her. Not to manipulate her. But because lies are what broke our family. And truth is what rebuilt it. If you're reading this and you're in the same storm, if you're waking up next to someone who smiles in public and stabs in private, hear me. You are not crazy. You are not weak. And you are not alone. Get out. Get help. And when you're ready, let them burn in the ashes they created while you build something real from the wreckage. Because you deserve more than survival. You deserve freedom.